Welcome to Inside Tech, a podcast by MediaTek. Here, you'll get the inside scoop on the latest trends, developments, and technical deep dives across embedded and consumer tech. In this episode, Sharma, MediaTek's AVP of IoT Business, Americas and Europe, speaks with Anshel, Principal Analyst at Moor Insights and Strategies, about how MediaTek is opening up new possibilities for IoT devices, from robotics and drones to industrial automation and more. They cover MediaTek's new Genio Pro premium platform, MediaTek's vision for the next wave of intelligent devices, and more.
Thanks a lot for joining us today. I'm Anshel, and joining me today is Sharma.
Anshel, it's a pleasure to be here. Just as a quick introduction, I've spent over 25 years in the technology ecosystem and just over 2 years at MediaTek. So excited for the conversation we're going to have today.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I was wondering if you could kind of give me some idea of how MediaTek's vision for the Genio platform that you are responsible for has evolved from when you joined the company to today.
Yeah, Anshel, so I'm going to use your question to make a broader point about how we think about my business unit and the people and the product line, right? So there's always three vectors I think about. The classic business unit metrics like revenue and margins and growth, the product line, which we'll talk about obviously today, but also our people and culture. And I think in all three fronts, we've done a bit of a transformation and upgrade as we brought in new leadership. And I think part of that is coming across in how our BU is performing from a business perspective. We are a highly profitable business within MediaTek, also growing very rapidly. And, from a product perspective, Genio has been completely transformed, I would say, in the last 2 to 3 years. I'll get a bit deeper into it. And then from a people and culture perspective, I would say we have become much more of a global company and a global business unit. We brought in new talent. We have invested in key areas of strategic importance to us and to our business. And to go a bit deeper into the product line itself, I think when you look at Genio, I would say there are three big areas where the transformation has happened. The first one is this move from a pure silicon focus to more of a platform and vertical solution focus. And I'll give some examples of that. The second thing has been around, I think we were always very strong in get to market, things like design-in, but we've complemented that with a very strong go-to-market engine in branding, in marketing, in channel, in working with key partners to create excitement about their products that are powered by MediaTek Genio, right? And the final change has been really looking at AI, especially edge AI, as a key capability and infusing it into every part of our roadmap and how we think about our business. So if I go a bit deeper, when I talk about the silicon to platform to solution focus, some examples are we've put out a lot more documentation and we have a developer center where thousands of pages of information, but also summarized information is available for developers, right? This is unprecedented from a MediaTek perspective, opening up that platform, right? So if you're a developer, you can get access to all that platform documentation and details, but you also get SDKs and you get information around FAQs, interaction with other people, other customers who may be using the same platform, and issues they have worked through, enhancements they have done. So you can sort of benefit from that ecosystem approach. On the vertical side, we've been very successful in areas like retail and fitness. But increasingly, we are becoming much more successful in things like factory automation, industrial application, even enterprise. And you'll see a lot more products from our customers this year and next year in those areas. And when I talk about AI, I'm sure we'll touch on this as we go deeper into the conversation today. But really looking at this shift from classic computer vision-based approaches, which is what primarily IoT and Edge was about, to LLMs and multimodal inputs, text, video, audio, but then also agentic AI. And obviously we're getting ready for the physical AI, which primarily everyone thinks about as robotics, but as you and I know, it's much more than that. So really, these have been the big transformations, right? Upgrading our culture, our people, upgrading our sort of a business unit KPI, but also our product lineup in terms of the platform level focus, go to market focus, and then AI focus.
And speaking of different products powering different types of devices, could you tell me more about MediaTek's new platform that you announced at Embedded World?
Yes, we are very excited to talk about not just actually one platform, but multiple new platforms that we announced at Embedded World. I think the most exciting part is a brand new family of products, with the first product called Genio Pro 5100 that was announced at Embedded World. This is a level of performance that's unprecedented on the MediaTek IoT roadmap. It really starts with being built on TSMC 3 nanometer. And if you look at all the key ingredients within the product, from the CPU, we're using the ultimate performance core from ARM, the X925, but we also have the performance cores and then the power efficient cores on the same chip. The NPU brings more than 50 TOPS of capabilities, multi-OS support, robotics operating system will be supported on this platform. We have, capability to take inputs from up to 16 cameras. Think about the powerful applications you can apply this to. And not surprisingly, our customers are already starting to use it in robotics applications, in drones, even in areas like automation of industrial workloads, as well as transportation and fleet and so on and so forth. And I do expect the adoption of this platform to expand beyond those areas. We also announced a refresh to the mid tier of our product line with a new product called Genio 420, which really brings LPDDR5 support. As you all, as everybody knows, memory has become a bit of a crisis for the entire ecosystem, right? And so we very rapidly reconverged and refreshed the middle part of our roadmap to give the customers the flexibility of either using DDR4, LPDDR4, or LPDDR5. And really, Anshel, what we're doing here is starting to deliver, frankly, hardware at the speed of software. The rumbling around memory issues reached a crescendo, I would say, about 6 months ago, maybe 9 months ago. And we already have a roadmap refresh, giving our customers the flexibility and the alternative platform, because there's still a lot of uncertainty around, what the memory capacity situation will look like in 26, but also in 27 and beyond.
Yeah, and talking about AI demands, we are living in an era where AI is driving massive energy demands. How does your IoT roadmap balance high performance AI with the strict power constraints of edge devices?
Anshel, the power consumption requirements are becoming a huge issue. And I think they're becoming a huge issue even beyond purely technology ecosystem. It's affecting our utilities. It's affecting how the battery storage capabilities are going to be designed. The cost of energy is going up. So I think it's very critical that the power efficient architecture that MediaTek is very well known for, because we come from smartphone heritage. So everything we do had to have a strong component of power efficiency built in, that we use that DNA to infuse power efficiency in every platform that we enable at the edge. And really what we're doing here is sort of leveraging a thesis and a conviction that a lot more computing will happen at the edge. And I always say that that's because of the laws of physics, privacy, and many other reasons, right? Sovereignty being another reason, right? You want to be able to process data where the action is happening. The primary example of that is autonomous cars, because sending data to the cloud and waiting for instructions is just not an option, right? But I think it's increasingly, for energy sustainability reasons, a lot of this processing will happen at the edge. So what we're doing from our side is, at the silicon level, we are putting in NPU capabilities, right? The 5100 has 50 plus TOPS of AI capabilities. But as you go down, we have, 8, 6, 4, 3, 2 level of TOPS capabilities. So customers can run their workload at the edge, right? And then we're also sort of thinking about this holistically in terms of the memory architecture, which we can get deeper into. Bottom line, I think, as the processing moves to the edge, we want to make sure MediaTek IoT platform is the best platform available to our customers in terms of raw silicon capabilities, software development tools, and the ecosystem to go build their solution.
Can you explain how MediaTek silicon is evolving to allow IoT devices to move from simple inference or computer vision to more reasoning-based inference?
Yeah, I think this really comes down to the evolution of workload itself. As you correctly pointed out, a lot of the historical AI applications have been around computer vision. But as we move from classic analytics, primarily video, a little bit of audio, but primarily video, to things like LLMs for voice-based interaction, to multimodal inputs, to agentic AI, to physical I think we have to upgrade the underlying silicon, but also the software stack to keep up with this evolution of workload. So really, we start with that workload, and then we look at the silicon level, hey, what is the appropriate heterogeneous architecture to accelerate these workloads? So that's where we brought in NPU. We already on the 8th generation of MediaTek NPU. We keep improving it. We keep making it more power efficient, supporting more primitives at the hardware level, so the processing is more efficient. We are also partnering with NVIDIA, where their Tau capability, which is the training, adaptation, and optimization, is available on the MediaTek platform. So you do the training on NVIDIA GPU, but you deploy the inference on a MediaTek platform at the edge. And I think then finally, we complement all of this with the right memory architecture. So making sure we have enough memory footprint to be able to contain these distilled LLM models and in future VLM models at the edge. But also the interface between the memory and the CPU, the architectural design has to be enough to let the data go back and forth. And I would say the final piece is connectivity, because we do believe the 5G or even the RedCap 5G and Wi-Fi will be a key part of doing a lot of processing at the edge, but then very quickly moving back and forth, the data between the edge and the data center. And so that is our holistic platform approach to move towards more reasoning-based AI at the edge.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially with the growth of hybrid AI and just taking advantage of the best compute for the workload.
Exactly.
Moving to some other areas of the business, at NRF 2026, you guys showcased the store of the future demos like the Fibocom retail AI agent. How do these generative AI-powered kiosks change the ROI for retailers compared to the previous generation of dumb touch screens?
Yeah. I think for us, NRF was a very successful show. It was the first time we showed up with that vertical focus, and it goes back to what I talked about earlier. We're really getting into these specific verticals and trying to understand the pain points, what motivates our customers and their customers. So in case of retail, almost everything is driven by two big things. The first one is when a customer walks into the retail store, giving them a great experience. They should find what they're looking for. And when they do that, then they will buy more. So it's a revenue uplift for the retailer. So everything from supply chain to make sure the right product is on the shelf, doing some sort of a hybrid digital immersion so you can try out clothes without even physically trying them on, but also integrating their whole online and offline shopping experience. So you could buy online and have it shipped to your home. You could buy it online, pick up at the store. You could go to the store and have a digital immersion experience, integrating all of these things. And everything ultimately leads to more revenue for the retailers. But then the other part is this issue of shrinkage, which is a very polite word for things like thefts and other things. It's $100 billion problem for the retailers. So how do you prevent that? And we had 35 plus demos, everything from legacy mobile point of sales to digital signage to interactive kiosks. We had partners like In-Store Screen by Lenovo, Honeywell, and Genio, and many others demonstrating their capabilities, their products on top of the MediaTek platform. We even had the world's first MDEP, which is Microsoft Devices Ecosystem Program platform for digital signage that we jointly launched with Microsoft and a partner called IADIA, for interactive digital signage. This comprehensive view of how a vertical like retail, which is hundreds of billions of dollars. So creating this comprehensive view of a vertical like retail, which is multiple hundreds of billions of dollars of GDP, and helping optimize both on the revenue and the cost front is how we approached it. And I think we had partners like Ingenico, who are a leader in payment processing. We had Circle K, head of IT, on stage with us, 11,000 plus gas stations, and how MediaTek's technology roadmap is exciting for them. So we were very happy with the outcome and the feedback from the ecosystem and customers.
Yeah, and I'd also say, the retail sector especially is working to reinvent itself, considering all of online shopping and how people's experiences are vastly different in person versus online, and being able to up-level that in-person experience, I think, is what a lot of the retail industry seems to want to change.
You are spot on, Anshel. And I've been going to NRF for 15 plus years. This year, if when you walked into NRF and you didn't know anything about the event, you would assume it's a technology event. That was the aha moment for me, that technology has infused itself into every form factor, every experience, every business process for the retailers.
Yeah, and moving on to a different segment of the business, again, because you have so many different. When we're looking at stuff like smart homes and how they're kind of shifting towards more of an ambient home experience that is more about sensing and responding, how does the new Genio 360 bring these premium AI features to value tier home devices, and what other experiences do you see MediaTek enabling in the ambient home of the future?
Yeah, I think once again, our refresh at the value tier, which was Genio 360 and 360p, was really driven by an ask from our customers and our ecosystem that we need, even at the value level, AI is becoming important. So we need a little bit more AI capability. In addition to all the classic areas of strength for MediaTek, which is, power efficient CPU, an NPU that's already on the 8th generation, display capabilities, and all this packaged with cutting edge process technology. So really, that's what we were focusing in the context of applications, including smart home. I think the smart home has been a little bit of holy grail because all of us live in homes, right? So it's a very personal desire for all of us to have a better quality of life where we spend the largest amount of time, in our lives, which is our homes, right? Hopefully. So the ambient computing requirements, the intuition that's required so that my home understands me and can proactively adjust without having to go and interact with technology, with devices to get what I need. I think that's been a big game changer. The spoken interaction, including LLMs, right? It started with classic, things like Alexa and Siri and even Google championing this, but I think it's starting to get much more adopted across the ecosystem in homes. So I think when you look at our Genio 420 platform, when you look at with this LPDDR5 support, multi-display support, when you look at Genio 360 and the value it brings for the price band it plays in, these become very compelling platforms for our customers to scale, because getting something out, especially for consumer, for smart home at the right cost, is very, very critical for them.
You've had recent success with partners that need industrial grade longevity. Why is industrial grade longevity just as important as AI processing power for your enterprise customers?
So Anshel, if I look back at 20 plus years in early stages of AI and embedded that I, spent time on, one thing that has not changed is the need for industrial and enterprise to have a stable platform with a very reasonable lifespan. And those lifespans are defined in terms of 7, 10, sometimes even 15 years. You have to think about IoT devices in industrial setup and enterprise setup more as infrastructure. I think the industrial and enterprise customers are trying to balance two things. One is the hardware infrastructure, many times which requires like a truck rollout, right? Requires some sort of uprooting and fitting new products into whatever it is, the form factor, right? Could be a traffic light, could be something in your enterprise. It's costly to do rip out and replace. So they're looking for that stability of platform, but at the same time, they want to have some level of future proofing built in, because the pace at which AI and connectivity and compute is evolving, they want to make sure as new use cases, as we move from classic AI interaction to agentic AI to physical AI, that they're able to upgrade some of this infrastructure without uprooting everything. So that's why the longevity becomes very, very critical. I think intuitively we can understand that it's okay to replace your smartphone once every 3 years. But if you buy a professional coffee machine, if you have a quick service restaurant, if you're putting infrastructure into retail to optimize your supply chain, you want that to have a longer life without letting it go obsolete, right? And so I think longevity, not just from hardware perspective and hardware availability, but longevity from OS upgrades, from a security patches perspective becomes equally important. And that's what MediaTek is offering with its IoT roadmap.
Moving to enterprise collaboration, I want to know with companies like Barco and Cubic and the successors that you've had with them, how is MediaTek Silicon redefining the hybrid meeting experience through on-device noise cancellation and auto framing?
Those two features are absolutely critical for a smooth experience, but it's much beyond that as well. It really, if you think about the conferencing room of the future that hopefully is going to come very, very soon, is already happening, it's really an ecosystem of devices. You've got the touch controllers and audio mics sitting on your desk. You've got the screen, which will require, which is used to display content, but also interact with, attendees in a different location in the world. You've got projectors where we can potentially embed things like using AI to capture key summary and meeting minute notes, right? You have the energy efficient infrastructure to make sure that the lighting level is right, and when attendees leave the conference room, the lights go off, so that sustainability is improved for the entire infrastructure that is put there. So it's really a bit of an ecosystem of devices working together, and we're very proud of the launch that Barco did recently, because it has another very important key element, which is the partnership with Microsoft on Teams support built into the device, right? So really it comes down to silicon level features, some of which you listed. Its capabilities like display and having the NPU based API, the ability to drive content on display using a GPU technology. But it's about much more than that. It's about thinking once again that solution portfolio, that ecosystem, and how it comes together. And honestly, it was quite a bit of a heavy lift, but we are very proud of the experiences our partners and customers are delivering.
And kind of looking to the future, what is one niche IoT application or even edge AI application that you see today that is maybe going to be commonplace in the next 5 to 10 years?
Not surprisingly, you saved the hardest question for the last. I'm going to try and answer this from a couple of perspectives. First of all, I think if you take a step back and look at the last 25 years, a lot of the technology, which was built by engineers like me and you and our peers, right, I think has a heavy element of interaction. Engineers love interacting with technology. So every device you look around yourself is more focused on interact with me and tell me what you need, and then I'll do a great job responding to it. I think the next phase of technology development, especially when it relates to AI, has to be about letting technology fade in the background, making it seamless. And I think part of it is just the next logical evolution. But part of it, I think, will be driven by how much technology there is around us, right? And so you see some issues like, privacy issues, security issues, social media implications in the society and community around us. And I think the path to solving those issues while keeping the technology growing, because I'm an optimist when it comes to technology, will require us to re-architect how we interact with technology and have a more anthropological view versus a purely technological view. So I think that's going to be the big theme. But if I had to pick one favorite and bet money on an application, I think it's going to be around robotics. I think so much of the evolution in technology that has happened around us has been in the digital domain, right? Even these new agents that are being deployed today on edge devices in data center, they are all around automating flow, but primarily in the digital domain. I think the biggest impact happens when technology sort of steps out of digital domain into the physical domain. And robotics, I think, will be the leading edge. But as I've said before, it's going to be one example, one primary example. So whether it's in your home, whether it's in factories, whether it's at airports, whether it's in enterprise, I think there's going to be a lot more work around robotics. I think there are 2 or 3 big issues. Robots by definition tend to be mobile, which means they have to be extremely power efficient. But you're trying to use a battery operated device to move stuff, which is inherently power consuming, right? So how do you balance that, right? How do you balance that? I think that's going to be a critical challenge for us to solve. I think more and more AI at the edge will become absolutely critical, because I gave the autonomous car as an example. We have to think about robotics the same way, right? It has to be self-sufficient. It'll obviously connect to the data center. It'll have, capability updates, over-the-air updates. It'll periodically dock with the data center to send information, but most of the work will have to be done right there at the edge. So I think certainly at MediaTek, we are building a platform. I may have neglected to mention this, but Genio Pro 5100 will have support for robotics operating system, the ROS libraries out of the box. And we are also extending that support to other parts of our roadmap. So that's what I'm excited about. That's what I'm betting on in my personal life and my professional life to make a huge difference to everyone's lives on this planet.
Yeah, and I definitely see a future where my home robot is aware of what my dishwasher and my dryer are doing, and I don't even have to tell it to do anything. It just goes and, unloads things and loads things and folds things. I know we're not quite there, that future yet, but I totally can see that being something that a lot of people would love to have.
Anshel, you picked up the two most biggest pain points at home, loading and unloading dishwasher and washing and folding clothes. So here's to wishing that your forecasts come true very quickly.
Thanks a lot. I really enjoyed our discussion today.
Likewise. Take care.